Today's Gemara in Sukkah Daf Mem Dalet. All the learning for this month, the month of Elul, has been sponsored generously. The Zecher Nishmas, Esther Rezel Basra Meir. The learning of the entire Chabur should be a tremendous chos Ilin Nishmasa. Of course, as Chos Shidduch Yishal Chaim and Devar and Shir Miriam Basra Rezel Gidel, as well as the chos for Shleimer Ben Vega Chaim and Sarsham Sin Rezel Raskinadi to Tvasias Chai Sarah. Yosef Yol Ben Devar Pezah Shalei Shamas Nami Vashavigur Shir Chan Shmol and Dinel Dinel Chan Rezel. Melchaim Vasila the Brachos of Musa Dinin which in Minasvi Vega Road Nechel Sunnah Huva. Rivka Basra Shalom Dazim Chalester Besay Shar Chayle Yisrael. We're on the top of Mem Dalid Omid Aleph. We finished with differentiating that both Arava and Lulav with Zman Hazeh is not applicable. For what reason? Even though it was a massive contradiction, on one hand we started off saying that Lulav in Eretz Yisrael, when we are Gedea B'Kviyah Diarchi, when we know what day really is Yantif, it should yes be Deicha the first day if it's Shabbos. Arava should not. The Gemara answers, you know the reason? So we don't want that there should be one Torah in Bavel outside of Eretz Yisrael and a different halacha in Eretz Yisrael. I'm going to pick it up on the top of Mem Dalet and Aleph. Excuse me, with that final teretz that we said, Amri l'dedun, Amri l'dachi. Let's just take one moment to see the top Rashi. The Rashi points out, what's the problem? So let there be one halacha in Chutzlar and another halacha in Eretz Yisrael. Says Rashi, the famous line, Sholasis Yisrael agudos agudos. We don't want Klal Yisrael to be separated and splintered. V'nir ekishtei teres l'dan l'dachi lulav Shabbos. Because for us outside of Eretz Yisrael and Bavel, it's not deichem. And therefore, says the Gemara, both Arava and Lulav will not be Deicha B'Zman Hazeh. Says the Gemara, 1 second, Velakashani Tarti. If that is accurate, then we're left with a contradiction. The Tanakh, Chados, we learned to one Mishnah Kolam Alichan Es Lulavayim, Laharabayis. Where do they bring the Lulavim? To the Beis HaMikdash, Tani Idach, the Beis HaKnesses. And Umatartzina, and how do we answer Kamazan Beis HaMikdash Kayim, Kamazan Chaim, Beis HaMikdash Kayim? And according to that which we just answered, that when there's no Beis HaMikdash, it's not Deicha Shabbos. We're back to the original contradiction. Answers the Gemara, everything is referring to when there's yes a Beis HaMikdash, kan big vulin. One is in the Beis HaMikdash, one is a big vulin, and that is going to be the differentiation. So like we answered that both are when there is a Beis HaMikdash in Eretz Yisrael. One is inside Yerushalayim by the Harabayis by the Beis HaMikdash, and one is Gvulin, as Rashi in the second Rashi points out, Gvulin outside of Yerushalayim. That's when they'll bring the lulav into the Beis HaKnesses. But everything is Bizman Habayis. Says the Gemara, okay, and that's really the conclusion of yesterday's discussion. Amar lei Abaye l'Rava. Let's go a bit deeper. Asks Abaye to Rava to nowadays, the nowadays lulav, the nowadays Arava. Let's understand this a little bit more. Amar lei Abaye l'Rava, says Abaye to Rava. Ma'ishna lulav da'avdinu le'shiva zeichel le'mikdash, or ma'ishna Rava da'avdinu le'shiva zeichel le'mikdash. Ask Abaye to Rava, I don't understand why nowadays lulav we do all 7 days as a zeicher, as a remembrance, a rabbinic decree to remind ourselves that which they had at the time of the Beis HaMikdash. Yet when it comes to Arava, we only do it on one day, on the 7th day or the 8th day here in Chutz La'aretz. What's the difference? Amar lei, so Rava responds, interesting answer of Arava. Res Rava, since you fulfill your obligation of Arava with the Arava inside the Lulav, that is the reason why we only have to take the Arava for one day, the 7th day on Hashanah Rabbah. Amar lei, Abaye responds, what are you talking about? The Arava in the Lulav is not because of the Arava, it's because of the Lulav. Maybe you're going to answer me to come You're going to tell me, no, really, it's the same Arava. But you pick it up 2 times. First, you pick up the Lulav with the Arava, the sake of the Lulav. Then you pick it up together for the sake of the Arava. Says Abaye, you can't say that. You know why? We see every single day. Interesting question, asks Abaye. He says, Abaye, it can't be true. You know why? Because I see that no one does. I don't see anyone picking it up and putting it down. They can't be the reason. So Amar Rav Zvid Mishmei the Rava, so Rav Zvid tells over in the name of Rava, answering up for Rava, Lulav da'araisa avdina shiva zeichel mikdash. Rava da'rabanan lo avdina shiva zeichel mikdash. Says Rav Zvid, there's a fundamental difference. Lulav is inherently a din da'araisa, and that's why when we make a remembrance of it, we make it for 7 days. Arava is only a din da'rabanan, so even the remembrance is going to be shorter. Says the Gemara, Leman, who are we going like in that which we just said? that a Rava is the Rabbanan. Leman, Elim, if you're going to tell me, Abba Shol, according to Abba Shol, Omer, you know what he says? Arvei Nachal, Kseva says in the Torah, Arvei plural Shtayim, Achsel of Achsel Mikdash. So Abba Shol holds the din of a Rava is the Daraisa. Either Rabbanan, Helks like a Mir Latzlach Lamash Mi Sinai. Tomer Rabbasim, Rav Yechon, Rishim, the Chaniyish, Bekaz, Beis Chortan, Essen, Esir, Zarav, and Yisachamayim. Those three halachas, the 10 saplings, the din of a Rava and pouring of the water, is Alach Lamash Mi Sinai. So I asked the Gemara, I don't understand. Who is this opinion that says a Rava is the Rabbanan? Everyone seemingly is saying it's Daraisa. Elam Rav Zved comes like Rav Zved, further defending his answer, Mishmei de Rava in the name of Rava, Lulav Islay Ikar Min HaTorah, Big Vulin, an answer that we've seen prior. Lulav has a source, a biblical source, even outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Therefore, it's on a higher pedestal. Avdinu Lashiva Zeichel HaMikdash, we make the remembrance even greater. But Arava, Big Vulin, there's no din of Arava outside of the Beis HaMikdash Midaraisa. Therefore, Avdinu Shiva Zeichel HaMikdash, therefore we don't make the remembrance 7 days. Says the Gemara, Amar Reish Lakish. Now we're going to go into. Previously, we quoted Rav Yochanan, as we just said a moment ago. Rav Yochanan quoting a statement from Rav Nachumya Ish Bekas Beis Chortan that said that the din of Arava is a halach l'Moshe Sinai. As you saw a few lines up, Amar Rav Yochanan and Moshe Rav Nachumya Ish Bekas Beis Chortan. This statement. So now the Gemara is going to delve a bit deeper into that statement. Amar Reish Lakish. Koyahanim Bali Mumin Nichlasim in Ulam Vegdi Las Varava. Says Reish Lakish a fascinating idea. Who is the one that does the Arava? We don't know yet. What does it mean to do the Arava? Is it taking it? Is it shaking it? We'll see it. Is it placing it around the Mizbeach? But says Reish Lakish, even Koyahanim Bali Mumin are the one that take it and they go between the Ulam and the Mizbeach. Of course, an area that a Baal Mum Kohen is generally not allowed to go. Says Reish Lakish, he's allowed to go for what? For the din of Arava. Amli Rav Yochanan says to Reish Lakish, Mi Amra. Reish Lakish, who says this? Mi Amra. Reish Lakish says back, who said this? You Amar. You're the one himself that said it. Where did you say it, Rav Yochanan? Tam Rav Asi, Rav Yochanan. You, Rav Yochanan, is the source that said it's a din daraisa. Therefore, it's even going to be so great that a Kohen Baal Mum is going to be the one that does it. Says the Gemara, no, that wasn't what Rav Yochanan was bothered by. Elai mi Amar ben Etila, says Rav Yochanan to Reish Lakish, you missed the boat. Who told you that the whole ceremony of Arava is by taking the Arava? And that's the din daraisa. And therefore you could derive that a Kohen Baal Mum could go and take it. Talma Biskifa, perhaps he just means to stand up the Arava is around the Mizbeach. And therefore, who says mi Amra b'Bali Mum and Talma b'Tmimim? Who says that Kohen Baal Mum does it? Maybe Kohen Tamim. Whether this is two questions, one and the same. But either way, the good question of Rav Yochanan, Rav Yochanan to Reish Lakish is, where did you get this? Where did you get this that a Kohen Baal Mum is be able to do it? Number one, and number two, says you're taking it at all. Says the Gemara, Itmar. And that's the end of that statement. We just brought up the statement causes the din of Rav Yochanan that he said over b'shem Rav Nachumya Ish Bekas Beis Chortan. This din that the din of Arava is Alach L'Moshe Sinai, and this is how Rav Yochanan contested the statement of Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish suggested that a Kohen Baal Mum could be the one to bring in the Arava. Rav Yochanan wasn't happy. Number one, who says you take it? Number two, who says you could do it with a Kohen Baal Mum? Itmar, says the Gemara, a second din. That's going to be an offshoot of this original din of the din of Arava being Alach L'Moshe Sinai. Itmar Rav Yochanan Rishon ben Levi Chadam Arav Yisoy Neviim Chadam Arava Minag Neviim Amachloikes. What is Arava? What's the source? Is it Yisoy Neviim? Does it come from the Neviim, or is it a Minag Neviim, or just a custom of the Neviim? Says the Gemara, I'll bring you a raya. Testayin Rav Yochanan Hu Damar Yisoy Neviim Damar Rav Yochanan Rav Yisoy Neviim. Who he says it explicitly. Testayin, a beautiful raya. Amr Lei Rav Zera says to Rav Avua, 1 second. You just proved to me that Rav Yochanan says it's Yisoid in Neviim. Mi Amr Rav Yochanan, how can you tell me that? V'Amr Rav Yochanan Shem Nechem Nish Bekas Beis Chortan Esen Esiyos Arav Nizachamayim Aloch L'Moshe Sinai. That's Aloch L'Moshe Sinai. So how can you tell me that it's a din derabanan, it's Yisoid Neviim? It's not true. It's Aloch L'Moshe Sinai. Rav Avua was ishtaimim kishachad. He was silent. He had to grab his bearings. V'amar, and then he said, "Shacham b'chazer yistam." You're right. It was halach l'Moshe Sinai, but they forgot it. And then the Nevi'im came along and they reestablished it. That is how Rav Avua defended Rav Yochanan. Says the Gemara, 1 second. It's a nice answer, but it doesn't fit in Rav Yochanan. Rav Yochanan one that could potentially say an idea that it was forgotten during Bavel and then reinstituted. But Rav Yochanan is the opinion that says, Amri, I thought that you were greater. Excuse me. Rav Yochanan, Amri, I thought the Torah is yours, but really it's theirs. Really it's theirs in Bavel. I thought that the Torah of Eretz Yisrael, like if you want to see Rashi over here, spells out what's going on over here. It says Rashi's in the middle of the last Rashi says, Rav Yochanan b'nei Yisrael Savara, you see, I thought Rav Yochanan talking to the b'nei Eretz Yisrael, Shet Torah Shalachem, the Torah is yours in Eretz Yisrael. Shalai Kelisim Yaretzachem, you never exiled. V'lo Yelachem Tir Fadas, and you were all messed up in your brain. Avlu Raisi, says Rav Yochanan, I see it's not true. She shall b'nei Bavel, those in Galus, the Torah is theirs. Shafi Shekala, even though they went through exile. Amdu Lahem Chachma Zachar Shamizgar Shekalu. Their Talmidei Chachamim went to Galus through them. So it says Rav Yochanan, the Torah of Bavel is better. So the Gemara is asking, how could you suggest that Rav Yochanan has the opinion that really it was halach l'Moshe Sinai? Then they forgot it by Bavel, and then the Nevi'im told to them again. Rav Yochanan is of the opinion that the Torah of Bavel is even greater than the Torah of Eretz Yisrael. So it can't be that he held that they forgot it. Answers the Gemara, no, loy, kasha. Whoa, excuse me. Answers the Gemara. We're back. Answers the Gemara. Turning over, put on the blooper reel. Turning over to Mendel and Mabeis. Answers the Gemara. Kan b'mikdash, kan b'gvulin. When did Rav Yochanan say it's halach l'Moshe Sinai? That is in the Beis Hamikdash. Kan b'gvulin, as you see in the top Rashi. Whereas where did he say it's Yisai Nevi'im? That is in the b'gvulin outside of Yerushalayim. And that is statement number 2. Again, these are two sort of almost random statements, but they came in because they had to do with the statement of Rav Yochanan said over in the name of Rav Nechumia Isha Bekas Beis Churtan that said that your Rabbah is halach l'Moshe Sinai. Comes along Rav Ami. Says Rav Ami, let's go into Arava halach l'maisa. Rav Ami memdal min beis halaim Arava tzricha shir. Then number 1. Arava has a minimum shear. Din number 2, you have to take the Rava by itself. And din number 3, you can't be yoyted the Arava in the lulav. Says Mar, 1 second. What? You told me to take the Rava by itself. Of course, you're not yoyted the Rava in the lulav. Answers the Gemara, what everyone's thinking. Maybe if you don't pick it up twice, do the double pick. If you pick it up and you pick it up again, then maybe indeed you could be yoyt even with the Rava that's inside the lulav. Kamash on the 3rd day, that you're not yoyt with the Rava and lulav. So you're not yoyt with the Rava and lulav. You're not yoyt even if you pick it up, and the Arava needs a shear. That is the statement of Rav Ami. Rav Yitzchak argues, and he says, Adam you're yes with the Rava of the lulav. Period. So din number 1, no one debated that needs a shear. Din number 2, whether you're with the Rav and lulav, that's a point of contention. Rav Ami says no. Rav Chisda Rav Yitzchak says yes. Says the Gemara of a Kamashira. So what is the shear? What is his minimum size of the Rava? Rav Nachman Gimel Bade Alin Lachin. 3 twigs on moist leaves. Rav Shesha Samar, Afilu Allah Echad Ubad Echad, a single leaf and a single branch. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Allah Echad Ubad Echad, 1 leaf and 1 branch. The words of Rav Shesha sounds like you could have a branch and a leaf separate, and that's enough. 1 leaf, 1 branch. Says the Gemara, is that possible? No, it's not what Rav Shesha meant. Elohim afilu Allah echad bibad echad. 1 leaf on 1 single branch. That is enough. So machlekes, whether it's 1 leaf on 1 branch or 3 twigs with leaves on it. Omar Evu, because says Evu is the father of Rav. Comes along. Let's go back to the din of Arava, whether it's a din derabanan, whether it's a minhag. Says Evu, Havikamina Kamid Rav Elaz Rav Sadik goes in front of Elaz Rav Sadik. Vaiseu Gabar Rav Kamin, a certain person brought Rav in front of him. Shakal Chavit v'Chavit. Shakal Chavit Chavit. He took that Rav Chavit. We've seen already means not nua. Rashi says you shook it. He takes it. He waved it, and he waved it for them back. V'loi birach. He did not make a bracha on the Arava. You know what? because he thought it's only a minhag. If it's only a minhag, you don't make a bracha. So says the Gemara, it's like Rav Yeshua ben Levi and Amar Aleph, that a rava is a minhag. As we see, says Evu, they didn't make a bracha when they took the arava. Another story. Evu v'Chizkiah b'nei Barti the Rav. Evu and Chizkiah, who were the sons of Rav's daughters. I see a Rava, like I made the Rav. They brought a Rava in front of Rav. Chavit, they shook the Rava. They didn't make a bracha. Kesavar, again, minhag neviim hu. It's only a minhag. And that's two different sources, two different rayas. So let's Rav Yeshua. Rav Yeshua ben Levi, that a Rava is only a minhag, and therefore there is no bracha. Once we're on the Evu, we bring out another din of Evu. Amar Evu, even though a bit random. Amar Evu, having Gamina Gamina Rav Sadik. Again, it's the same sequence. That's why we bring it again. Evu saying, I was in front of Rav Sadik. Also, Gamehu Gavra, a certain person came. Marmalay, Karaiti Isli. I have villages. Karmaya Isli. I have vineyards. Karmaya Isli. Zaytaya Isli. I have olive trees. Vasu b'nei Kiryaisa. And the people that live in the villages come. What do? Mikashkishin b'karmaya. And they hoe and they work in my vineyard during Shemitah. And then what happens? V'oichlem b'zaytaya. And they eat my olives as payment for the work that they do. So again, during Shemitah, the people come in, they work in my field, and they take their payment from the olives on my tree. And he asked, Arich oiloi arich. Is this the proper thing that I'm doing or not? So Amar Lei, he responded to him, says Rav Sadik, Loi arich. No, it's not good. Don't do that. You're not allowed to pay someone for working your field on Shemitah. Havik Shavik Lei. As he was leaving, as this man was leaving for Rav Sadik to go and fix the mistake that he made to tell the workers they can't get paid from the olive tree, Vazel, Amar Rav Sadik remarked, Kadu avos dayari ba'ara hada. This man, Kadu avos dayari, I have already lived ba'ara hada on this land memshnin. Says Rav Sadik, I was living here for 40 years. I did not see a person who walked in the land to talk in Kedin who was so good like this man. This man is excellent. Why is this man so excellent? So the Mefarshim explain, because the moment he already made a mistake, he ran out to go fix it. He ran out. He didn't want the workers for one more moment to be taking payment for forbidden work on Shemitah. Hadar Valsi. So he took care of it. He told the workers, you're not allowed to get paid. He came back. After he came back, he said, what should I do? What should I do going further? Amar Lei, so Rav Sadik told him, Afker Zaytayo, make your olives Hefker, Lachashuchayot for the Aniyim. Saying Pritaya, Lakashkushe, from him and give a pruta for those who work in your field. So those who come to work, pay them for on your own. And the olives, you're supposed to make Hefker, they're not yours. It's Shemitah, you're supposed to leave them ownerless for the Aniyim. Says the Gemara, 1 second. It seems like in the whole story, the whole issue was the payment. That he let them take the payment from the olives. Says the Gemara, 1 second. You're allowed to work your field on Shemitah. Vatani, you learned in a Brisa, how time sensitive as we walk into Shemitah so soon. Vatani, you learned in a Brisa about Shemitah, Tishma Tanov, and Itashta. It says that what do you have to do during the Shemitah year? You leave it and you forsake it. What do we learn now? Tishma Tanov, you leave him from working in the field. V'nitashta, and you forsake the field from clearing out the stones. So what do we see? You're not allowed to work in the field. So how do you let these people work in the field at all? Amar Rav Okba bar Chama, 10 lines to the bottom. First one is tray, kishkushi avoy. There's 2 types of kishkush, 2 types of hoeing. Chatz atume pili. One is covering over the cracks of the roots, which is allowed, it just prevents it from drying out. And one is making holes around the tree, which is making it better, and that is not allowed. Making the holes also. Stume pili is shari, and he was doing the permitted one, and that's the reason why he did not have an issue with the fact that they were working in his field. And now the Gemara says the second halacha of Evu Misham Rav Sadik again. So Evu Misham Rav Sadik said one halacha. We brought in a random one about people working in the field. Now we have another random halacha. Amar Evu Misham Rav Sadik. Al Yalich Adam Arbi Shabbos Yizmi Gimel Bar Sais. You're not allowed to travel in Erev Shabbos more than 3 bar Sais. Amar Rav Kana explains why not. If you're coming home, then you're not allowed to travel because people are not going to be ready for you. The people in your family are not going to be ready if you're not going to prepare food. You're not going to have food for Shabbos. If you're traveling to an inn, then you're allowed to travel in Erev Shabbos. You know why? He says because the inn's not preparing for you. So whatever food you have on you, that is the food you can use for Shabbos. So there's no problem. That's shot number one of the Gemara. Second lashon amar Rav Kahana say you're not even allowed to travel to your own house in Erev Shabbos. Amar Rav Kahana, and he explained with I came to my own house and I didn't even find a little herring. There was nothing. Kisa Darsana is the smallest amount that we have for Einig and Kavod Shabbos. I didn't even find out, showing and proving the point that second lashon that you can't even travel to your own, that you cannot travel to your own house because it might not have anything. And of course, the Mishnah Berurah and the Paisim speak out that nowadays, that of course everyone's houses certainly have enough food for himself. It would not be an issue. We'll pick up from here, Mirz Hashem.